I don't get tickets, I hope.
I know, that's something to remember. Noted.
Jim Lacey, have you completely lost the Mexican attitude yet?
It's gone.
Gone.
Yeah, yes, sir.
I like good things. You're good.
The longest 30 seconds ever.
Right? I'm watching this, I don't want Bill to jump on me. As soon as I think it's 7 o'clock, boy, y'all get ready. Oh, you got 7? I got 7, we're on the red clock.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Got to on the red clock, what you think? Ready?
That's why you're ready.
Everybody's ready.
I thought it was caught up.
Me too.
Mine says 7.
Mine says 7, too. Mine says 7:01. I'm waiting for that red clock says 7. I think it's funny. All right, thanks for being patient. It's 7 o'clock. We're gonna call the meeting to order. Mr. Pope, call the roll.
Mr. Gazelle,
Yes.
Dr. Hope,
Here.
Mr. Farley.
Here.
Mr. Fink. Here. Mr. Bruce. Here. Mr. Rich.
Here.
And Mayor Goodman.
We're gonna have the invocation by Councilmember Houghton and followed by the pledge.
Well, I'm pleased to do the New Year's prayer, entering the new year. God of all time, help us enter the new year quietly, thoughtful of those who are kind to us and others, mindful that our steps make an impact for ourselves and the world. May we walk gently, may we speak only after we have been listened to well. Creator of all, help us enter the new year reverently, aware that you have endowed every creature and plant, every person and habitat with beauty and purpose. May we regard the world with tenderness, may we honor rather than destroy. May we have loving souls that help us enter into the new year joyfully. May we laugh, may we dance, may we dream, where we remember that our gifts are essential and we share our gifts. May we welcome the new year in. May we have grace and peace. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Mayor Goodwin is not feeling well tonight, so I'm going to sit over the meeting, so keep him in your thoughts, please, that he gets better as quickly. We're going to add a staff report from Eric about the Arctic Avenue project. That's about all I have for mayor's comments. We're going to jump into staff reports. Mr. Gilreath.
So I gave you guys all a copy of a memo talking about there is going to be, we're trending over, we're not currently over, but we're trending over in our certification and stipend program. There are a couple of different reasons for that, and I believe one is that obviously we're fully staffed, so it's been a very huge tool for recruitment and retention. The main change is in the firehouse, where we have attracted and hired some highly certified and qualified individuals from surrounding agencies. So that's kind of where we're at. I do want to I think it's important to point out that even as it's projected, it's still under what was budgeted 2-3 years ago. So it's not like the spending is out of whack or crazy. It's just, I try to pare it down as the use is, try to follow whatever trends are going on, and I shot short this year. That's on me, but can't predict the future. It's kind of where we're at. So yeah.
I'm happy that we're fully staffed and we've got some certified and qualified professionals on board with good retention. So,
Admittedly, I don't know a lot of the details as far as the list of the trainings that have occurred, but I would like to know the trainings. Are some of them necessary because we still have the public safety model?
That's correct.
Could you explain a little bit more about what that is, the model?
Well, effectively, we have quite a large percentage of staff that is dual certified as both police officers, firefighters, and sometimes triple certified as emergency medical responders. That's not typical of a standard police and fire department setup.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so when I put this into place, I think it was 2016, 17, something
been a
like
minute.
that. That was the main, we were having a lot of trouble recruiting people, because again, you're asking them to do 2 jobs, right? Effectively, and maintain those certifications and maintain the training, and this was a way to kind of incentivize that. And that was the start of it. But yeah, having it be public safety versus a typical setup definitely has a asterisk of things make it a little more interesting as far as the number of certifications that people hold, for sure.
Thank you.
I will say that I spoke with Andrew earlier, and he brought up a good point. I was a little worried that the 60,000 we budgeted and we're looking at 100,000 was a little worrisome, but we used to budget 100,000 for it, and it wasn't getting used as much when we weren't fully staffed. So last year, the year before, we actually lowered it to 60 because we just weren't spending the money. So we did used to budget 100,000 for it. Just throwing it out there. Thank you, sir. Audit presentation, my man, you're up again. Lee, you're doing this one?
Well, I'll just interject to say that the FY '24 results in the work session were presented. The actual official bound financial documents will be available in the next about 2 weeks, and I will place those in you all's mailboxes, so you'll have those. It's a full report. It's probably 100 pages of wonderful bedtime radio.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions for Lee about the financial report?
Any final questions for the manager
Well,
here?
I think y'all are getting out of it lucky. I don't hear anybody, so, thank you, sir. Next, Aaron, a rate increase for hearing officer contract.
We just wanted to give council a notice that our hearing officer that you guys designated for business license appeals, she started, we first started with this contract in 2019, and her rate was $200 an hour. She has now gone up to $225 an hour. We'll still be under budget. This is one of those budgets that we kind of put a placeholder because it may be used a little, it may be used a lot, but that rate increase did happen, and it's going to be effective, I think, at the next billing period. So we just wanted to give you guys a heads up when you see that later in the budget reports.
All right, any questions? All right, next, seawall moratorium, Mr. Pope.
So in the ordinance that came out in the final agenda packet on Friday, there's a proposed ordinance to put a moratorium on seawall permit approvals. This is just for seawalls on the beachfront. We refer to seawalls on the back of the island as bulkheads. So this would only affect erosion control structures on the beachfront. 2 months ago, or 3 months ago, in November, we had remanded an ordinance to the planning commission to put a 25-foot setback on new seawalls. That's not a zoning ordinance. It didn't require a public hearing, but we sent it to the planning commission because it's such an important issue. We wanted them to have a chance to hold a public hearing on it, take public input from it. We had 2 documented publisher delays getting our notices in the paper, so the planning commission has been unable to hold their public hearing. And so we haven't gotten any recommendations back for you guys to vote on. And because of that kind of roughly 2 months delay, we're asking to put a moratorium on the permits until the planning commission can hear that ordinance and send it back to you guys for a recommendation, first reading in February.
It's a 3-month moratorium, right?
It's a
Just
3-month.
enough to get us through planning commission, get feedback from a public hearing, and then it goes away.
And how many permits are affected by the moratorium?
We have 2 that are in now, and those are not affected because they've already been applied for, and they're under the wire. So I don't know how many would be possibly outstanding because we haven't received any more. But we do have 2 that are in the house now and in process. They will not be affected by this.
Because they're in-house.
Right, they've already been applied for. And I guess one last thing, since it's a moratorium ordinance, it needs 2 readings. You guys can do that as soon as 1 week from today. So we can choose to set a special meeting date and come back in a week, or we can wait till next month. Obviously, the longer we wait for second reading, the less effective the moratorium is.
Any other questions about the seawall moratorium? Yes. Okay, move on to Mr. Lutz, Arctic Avenue.
We have a resolution on the agenda tonight coming up with the Arctic Avenue redesign, requesting 30% design. And just want to give our consultants from A. Morton Thomas a chance to discuss the benefits of the 30% design. We should move ahead with that. This is Richard Turner with AMP They are our consultants for that project.
Good evening, everyone. Members of council, thank you all for the opportunity to be here, and it's a pleasure to be here and talk about this project. And we began work on this with you all back in 2023. We went through a series of public meetings and developing concepts and getting feedback on those concepts, and we landed on the one that was presented at the end there. And then in 2024, we sought funding through a grant application with the BCD Council of Governments. Unfortunately, we were not successful, but we did rate well, and it did get moved on to the DOT for future funding opportunities, which is the good news. But the bad news, there's no obligation for them to fund it, and there's no timeline for them to make a decision on when to fund it if they decide to do so. So the 30% design is really the next step in progressing this project down the line. It's the natural next step in a project development process for roadway projects. It allows us, what it will allow you and us to do is really, we do a full survey. You know, when we initially did this, we were working off of aerial photos, so we only could see what, well, as good as Google Earth and or our drones could cover. This allows us to do a full survey, the whole 2 miles. We'll be able to identify impacts of the right of way, impact utilities, potential drainage issues. We'll be able to see all of the above, and then begin to really dial in that design. And right now, it's, like I said, it's on that aerial at a very concept level. So 30% will really take us to the next step, do a lot of the hard work, and go through a lot of considerations of what this project will look like moving forward. And the next thing it'll really allow us to do is sharpen our pencil on the cost estimate to complete the project, which will put you in a better position for future grant applications and funding opportunities, whether state, local, or federal. So that's where we are with it, and be happy to answer any questions.
My first question to Aaron was, I was wondering if we were doing 30% over 100% of the project, or we were doing 30% of the project at 100%. And I guess I got my answer. We're doing 30% of the entire project. I guess I look at things more incrementally, and I'm just wondering, you from an expert standpoint, it seems to me like there's diminishing returns the farther east you go on East Arctic as to how many people use it. And I start looking at like the value of pedestrian path and redoing things at 11 East or 10 East, the very end of East Arctic, and compared to maybe 4 West or 3 West or 3 East on Ashley, how many people use it and what's the criteria. But Aaron reminded me that we're talking about redesigning the roads, so maybe an incremental design where the road design changes and then stops at Fifth doesn't make sense. Could you maybe shed some light on how I'm looking at it wrong and why it doesn't make sense to do 100% of
I won't say
1/3
looking
of
at
the
it wrong,
project?
I'll just say differently maybe, I can give you a different perspective. You know, it's a 2-mile stretch, and I think the benefits of a 2-mile stretch is, hey, you have a 2-mile path that now becomes a very nice amenity that will attract folks that will want to be part of that, want to walk. You know, my family vacations out here, and while we were doing this project, I came out here at 7 a.m. I was going to Birch, but I made my trip back around down Arctic, and it was amazing to see how many cyclists and how many pedestrians were there doing their morning walks. They're walking down the road in the opposite direction of myself on East Ashley, all the way down to the 11th before I made my turn back to Ashley. But I think that's the biggest benefit of having that stretch all the way down to 11th and 12th East Ashley is you're creating an amenity that'll be used by all. You know, going from, say, stopping at Fifth and doing something different, I think you're really missing the opportunity to create that long-term benefit and really redesigning Arctic Avenue. You're still going to have folks that'll visit the beach, and this provides them a safe opportunity to get out of their cars, onto the pathway, and then meeting one of the beach access points. So it gives them that safe passage as well, whether you're on 3rd East, 4th East, or 11th East, you still have those same opportunities throughout the entire frontage of the beach frontage.
I guess I look at just just the numbers, and I guess I was looking for more input from your survey or whatever about usage, and do you believe that the usage on 8, 9, and 10 East Arctic would be higher than the usage of continuing the pedestrian path from, say, 2 East to 5 East on Ashley?
No, I mean, I think if you look at.
Follow me, I mean, we have a
say the
finite
commercial
amount of
district.
dollars, and I'm looking to get the most bang for the buck, and while it'd be a beautiful 2-mile stretch, does it serve the most people? And that's all I'm asking is,
Well, I mean, I can't say that it's good. I think you're correct in that as further you get away from Center Street, the less likely, the lower the numbers are. I don't think that's I can say that was wrong, but I think you're still, during the peak beach season, you're gonna have the same users at Fifth that you will have 8 through 11. You're still gonna fill up the street with parking for folks that are going to the beach, not necessarily, they're not making their trip down to Center Street, but hey, maybe they will now.
Yeah.
That they didn't before because they really didn't have an easy way to get there without moving their car and trying to find parking again, so. Am I answering your question yet?
well, you just, I mean, yeah, maybe there's not an answer, I'm just saying, on, say, West Ashley, from the bathhouse to Sixth Street, how many people does that serve? You look at the neighborhoods all involved there, and the people that walk up and down Ashley. And then you look at the danger, it's all about pedestrian safety, that's how we started this whole thing. We've been
Right.
talking about it for 8 years since I've been on, pedestrian safer. So are people on East Arctic at 8th Street safer or less safe than people walking on Ashley at 3rd East?
We've been looking at it like that. I don't think he's not looking at it, he's just looking at this as that's his project he's doing.
Right.
We're the ones that decided to go forward with that. I mean, that's a question of it,
If we were to incrementally do that project, how, is it possible to phase a traffic change from the new and improved to the old and what we have? Or does that create a greater danger than, you follow me?
I do, but I think you diminish your benefits of the project as a whole because now you've reduced the length of it and you don't have as many people that are able to utilize that for the full length. I think that's the negative side of it, at least from that standpoint. From a cost standpoint, your cost is also going to go up. The further you wait to get started, the further obviously you'll finish, and the cost is going to continue.
Same is true on every other.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, and if you incrementally do it, there's gonna be increased costs for each phase versus, hey, let's design the whole thing. If you can construct the whole thing, obviously design and construct the whole thing, the economies of scale will be as good as they could be and it'll be as cheap as it could be.
Is there a shelf life on the plan? Does it expire? Does DOT say?
No, not unless there's some dramatic changes within DOT standards, which I don't foresee that. Part of the 30% design is environmental screening. So we would be able to go through, it's a very small piece, but it'll identify any environmental concerns we may have. And typically with environmental project, on a federal project, once you get a record of decision, if you get to that point or that magnitude, you got, I think it's five years, and then you can extend that out to 10. So you've got a number of years. The shelf life on the plans will be as long as the standards don't get dramatically changed. And if they did get tweaked a little bit, there's still opportunities to tweak those, which would be much easier than starting over.
I can see where it makes sense to go ahead and approve this, and I'll vote for it. And I'm sure what Eric would tell me is get the plan approved, and we can implement it as we go. And if we decide to implement it in phases, we can do it on phases, but at least that plan will exist so that when we make a go decision, I just don't want a yes vote tonight to be construed as a go before all others, because there may be some that, maybe something changes, or maybe we do a study and find out that Ashley from 2 East to 5 East is more important than 9 to 10 on East Arctic. I don't know, I haven't done the study, but I don't want an approval of this to be considered a green light that we go from A to Z on this project before we even go A on any other project. Is that?
It makes sense, but we always have multiple projects going on at the same time as well.
Sure.
So if there's something else that's that pressing, it can jump ahead of other things on the list too. We have strategic planning
Well,
first
we've
week.
got-
We have strategic planning the first week of February.
got 11
I
million
highly recommend you,
11
bringing
million
that
to
up during
spend,
that
and we're
point.
just the ones that do it.
Otherwise, let's give the guy a break.
Can I say something else to that?
Sure, please.
You know, the idea of phasing it after this process, I think that's a better opportunity then than it is now, because we will know better what we're up against.
Thank
From
you.
a permitting standpoint, from a design standpoint, what impacts, do we have utility impacts, do we have storm drainage? There's a lot of things that are still unknown, so that price that we've given you is still, it has a very large contingency on it because there's a lot of unknowns. This allows us to start filling in the gaps.
That's the best answer to my question.
I'm glad I found it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Very good. All right, thank you, sir. Let's move on to approval of the agenda. Mr. Pope,
Make a motion.
second?
Second.
All right,
Dr. Houghton,
Yes.
Mr. Farley.
Yes.
Mr. Fink.
Yes.
Mr. Gazelle.
Yes.
Mr. Grooms.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich.
yes.
Approved.
All right, approval of the minutes from November 11th and December 10th. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Catherine, Chris.
Mr. Fink.
Yes.
Mr. Gazelle. Yes. Mr. Grooms.
Yes.
Mr. Farley.
Yes.
Dr. Houghton.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich.
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, personal appearances. First, we have Miss Whitney Schrum.
Whitney is not here, but I'm representing her.
Awesome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is John DeWitt. I'm with Cooper River Contracting. We are the contractors right now doing the repair work at COB, Charleston Oceanfront Villas. We started that project with a schedule that has starting, first of all, I'm here to request weekend work. Guess I should have said that. But we started that project with a schedule that has starting after Labor Day, and completing before Memorial Day, or in around Memorial Day. The scope of work is a complete replacement of the doors and windows on the seaside of the building, including the walls. That was an aggressive schedule. We felt it was achievable, but about November, we had an unforeseen condition come up which increased the scope of work, ultimately increasing the cost and delaying the project, or extending the duration of the project. Right now, it has us completing the project July 1st, or in and around July 1st. We are requesting that we work weekends to pick up probably about 30 days in work. There's 27 Saturdays between now and the end of June to get us back to a completion date in and around Memorial Day, or shortly after Memorial Day. Those activities would include installing stucco, framing the exterior walls, fluid applied weather barriers, deck waterproofing. So the activities are, for the most part, quiet in nature. I will say probably the biggest annoyance you'll hear is that forklift and its backup, or beeping backup alarm. But that's an OSHA requirement, and we can't do anything about that.
I have a few questions.
We need a motion to
Oh,
approve
sorry.
first.
One other thing I'd like to add, I mean, I've been working out here with COV for 17 years, and this is the first time we ever requested any weekend work out here.
Is there a motion to approve? No motion to approve? Sorry, sir. Failed.
All right?
Next up, we have a high impact shoot, Mr. Tim Grady.
Hello. High impact sounds a little bit extreme. It's only gonna be 15 people. Hello, my name is Tim Grady. My address is 1467 Harbor Gate Boulevard in Mount Pleasant. Thank you for hearing me, Mayor Pro Tem and council members, Aaron and Wes. I have not a huge photo video shoot, but it's for Volvo with Lockbox Productions. We want to shoot 100% of it at the Folly Beach County Park on the property. Show up, we're supposed to shoot at the port in the morning, and then show up there probably to have lunch. And we're gonna film a couple of the new electric Volvos that they make up in Ridgeville and Somerville, doing some driving shots, just inside the park on the driveway, not on the beach at all. Volvo can't put any vehicles on the beach. It's one of their rules. And then at the end of the day, but we hope to get permission to use a drone, which the county doesn't have a problem with. And at the end of the day, we'll put 4 of the new pretty Volvos at the end and shoot the sunset and be done. Just have some pretty pictures and video for them to use in their advertising and social media and their Volvo dealerships.
We have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Real quick, first question, so the Tides parking lot is out, that's in your application, you're not, not doing that location at
That was
all?
our original first choice, but it's fallen by the wayside. I asked
Okay.
Wes to leave it on there. I would love to get approval for it if it's possible, because it's gorgeous out there in the morning when the sun comes up and you get the pier in the background. To make that shot work, we would ask to start at 6 AM. I understand if you guys wouldn't approve it till 7. I assume that's the normal noise ordinance, even though we wouldn't be making a lot, there's nothing heavy or loud or anything we'd be doing out there. And we would ask for some parking on East Arctic, of course we pay for it, you know, so we don't take up the whole Tides parking lot, even though they're not very busy and they don't have that much going on them, so it's not.
Okay, and I will say, the county Parks and Rec has approved them to use their property, so fire away with questions, guys. Do you have any
Your
questions?
crew's gonna park at the Tides, is that,
No, we're
where
gonna be
are you gonna park?
100% on the county property.
Okay, everybody's there.
So it sounds like you want approval for one or the other, either you're gonna use the entire county park and everything's gonna be there, or if somebody'd like to, they can make a motion to approve you at the Tides.
Okay.
Was that the
That Folly, County Park, please.
Folly County Park,
Yes.
okay? Any other questions?
Chief, do you have anything?
No, Mr. Grady's been fine to work with over the years, no issues on that. And we did meet with him with the special event committee, and there were no issues, and I believe he is gonna have some on-site security just in case. So no issues from staff.
We always hire a Folly Beach police officer to be with us, no matter, on all my shoots. I've been lucky enough to have a business license out here for like 17 years, and I've done over 50 shoots on the
Thank
beach,
you.
off the beach, all around. Famous people, up to 150 people. No
All right.
problems, no complaints yet.
Any other questions? Aaron?
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Rude?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich?
Yes.
Approved.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. No more personal appearances. Next, we have citizen comments. Mr. McAllister, or name and address for the record, please.
J.D. McAllister, 1715 East Ashley. I'm in favor of the moratorium that y'all will vote on. I will say again, as I've said before, I think the city really needs to re-examine what authority you have seaward of the baseline as shown in the beach management plan of 1992. But be that as it may, the moratorium is before you, and I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Mr. Blackwell?
Jerry Blackwood, I live on James Island. I'm the owner and operator of Charleston Dock and Wall. I believe council has received an email from me. I can't put my hands around the reason for the moratorium. I've done walls out here for 36 years. I've been here when we used to get a permit from OCRM to be able to go out there at low tide and push sand all the way up to make berms. This was years before they even thought about the renourishment. So now you guys want to impose a moratorium because of why? I don't understand that. The impact that we get from the ocean side or the marsh side impacts the whole island. What we do, and other companies do, is try to protect people's property, protect the city, and I just can't get my hands wrapped around it. I don't understand why the city needs to impose a moratorium on something that's not being, it's not being flooded by work, or it's a protection. It's a protection device for the homeowners. I don't know if any council live on Front Beach or if anybody spoke to Front Beach owners or marsh owners. I've done 95% of the construction on this beach. I do residential pile driving. I'm the one that makes all the noise on the beach. But I just can't get my hands wrapped around why council would even want to impose a moratorium on something that's just so vital for property owners and for the beach.
I can answer a couple short questions, just to get, I can help you with a couple short answers real quick, just to help you out. We're not talking about the marsh at all. None of this affects the marsh, so it's only oceanfront. And it's because we've had rocks and people's riprap that get on public beach, and lately, the Army Corps, we have to move all that off.
Yep.
So this is a moratorium to stop that, because what's gonna end up happening is all that's gonna be required to be on their property and not on the public property beach. So that's why we have to have a moratorium. We don't want anybody building now and then encroaching on there, and they just have to move it later on. So it's actually to help protect them, so we
Yep.
can get a line done and say, okay, guys, please, you can build your seawall, but all your rocks and any riprap in front of it need to be on your property, and they can't be on public beach. That's the biggest part.
On response. Before anything was brought up years ago, we used to have to pull a permit from DHEC. DHEC would allow us, they had surveyors come out, they marked baseline. We know the technology's changed. We know when the rocks are placed up there, they roll, Mother Nature hits them, they pushes them all over the place. But back in the day, OCRM would allow us to put the rock on the baseline. We paid, the property owners paid for permits to be able to build them structures. Folly Beach and the Army Corps of Engineers never had an issue with it until they started renourishing the beach. That was I guess, an agreement the city made with the Army Corps of Engineers. All the rocks that are out there now have been there. Every job I do is required to have a as-built. Anything above it, behind it, as long as we're behind that baseline, is fine. I'm not to change the subject, but just like with the baseline now, I mean, now I hear that the state has jurisdiction behind the baseline. So the state's actually taken away where they admitted, saying that they created the hardship for beachfront owners from the jetties. So now they're taking back. I've got a couple of clients now, OCRM came out and flagged, took another 30 feet behind the baseline. That's just unacceptable. Council should be looking out for the homeowners and, and take care of everybody on the beach. It's just, I don't understand it. I'm getting to the point where it's like, I'm at that age where I don't have to do it anymore. I've been successful. It's not a financial gain for me. It's all the people that live out here, You see it when the tide, high tides. I've got clients now, every time it floods, I get swamped with emails and, photos and say, what can we do? What can we do? And then I get calls saying, guess what? They're trying to impose this. I'm here just to try to fight for the owners on the beach. I mean, not fight, but you know what I mean.
We're well over 3 minutes. My biggest recommendation to you would be tell them to email those messages to us.
I'm sorry.
Send those same messages to the city.
Yep.
Because we don't get those, so I would recommend that you tell them to send them to the city.
Oh, yeah, I understand, but I'm
Thank you, sir. We
questioning the more
appreciate,
authority,
we appreciate the comment.
Okay,
Anybody else? Citizen comments?
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dalton Culpepper, 1280 East Arctic. Mayor Pro Tem and Council, good to see you all tonight.
Yes, sir.
I just want to ask y'all to vote against this ordinance 00225, which is the 3-month moratorium. This is not an emergency. Moratoriums should be used for only when emergencies come about. And also, we know really, once the public hear it, people really don't know what's going on with this. Once they find out that this is just another property grab from the Front Beach standpoint, they're gonna be upset. Y'all know they're gonna be upset. We told people that years ago, we told them they couldn't build a seawall. And then we saw what was happening. When they didn't build a seawall, we started losing all the beach. Then they came up and started saying we need to build the seawalls. But we know good and well to push them back. That's just gonna be, they're gonna be losing that part of the beach in front of their house, and we know that. And so we have the 40-foot setbacks from the seawalls. Now that would be pushed back from the standpoint of the houses want to be closer to the seawalls. You certainly can't ask them to move the houses back further than the 40 feet that we already have. So this just makes no sense to put a moratorium in place tonight. Really not much is going to happen in the next 30 to 90 days anyway. We all know that, number one. And number two, this ordinance really doesn't stand the logic of sense if people really look at it. So I'll let y'all decide that later on, but really there's no, a moratorium should be used when there's an emergency. There's no emergency here. If there hadn't been an emergency here, we've gotten it done the right way to begin with. Second thing I just wanted, I really had not planned on even talking about this tonight, but when the gentleman got up there a few minutes ago about the East Arctic and the street renovations that we're planning on doing, I really think we need to look hard at this before we spend this $300,000 of hard money tonight. If we look at what Mount Pleasant's doing at the Pitt Street Bridge, project that they just started, we could do something very similar to that, which would be way safer when we started than what these plans call for. I went to all the public hearings that they had up there, and the meetings they had up there, and asked them to look at what I was talking about back then. This plan that they have proposed is very unsafe. If someone's house catches on fire in the middle of the summer, there's no way that you're gonna get a fire engine down East Arctic, and I don't care what anybody says. If you got everybody parked on where the one lane of traffic is now, if you consider that lane of traffic on the left-hand side being where cars are parked, and you got cars on the other side, you just think about trying to get a fire truck down there in June, July, August, or September. All we have to do, if you look at the Pitt Street Bridge, that was the closest thing I've seen. Now, Billy, I haven't talked to Billy, but they did something similar to what I'm talking about up in Hendersonville, when they put the bike lane at the very end, of that street down there. There's some things we can do here that are we can get way more bang for our buck than what this plan is being proposed. So I'd ask you to vote against that resolution 125 also.
Thank you, sir. Any other citizens' comments?
Paula Stonefield, 1661 East Ashley Avenue. I'm here in favor of the moratorium. As council knows, I presented a petition from citizens who own their property, who live here full-time on the east end of Ashley Avenue. Over 25 people at that time signed the petition asking for this seawall setback because it's important to all of us to preserve the beach for public use. There have been revetments for seawalls that have been installed over the baseline repeatedly, or maybe not, maybe they migrated over. But the point is, we want to keep those revetments back on private property and not installed in a way that they could move on to the public beach. The city spent over $17,000 removing those revetments before the last renourishment, and we'll have to after every single renourishment for all the revetments that are installed. We were delayed 60 days through no fault of the city, but the posting courier did not publish the advertised notice of the hearing for the seawall setback when they had been asked to. The moratorium is asked of City Council tonight to give time for that ordinance to go through Planning Commission, come back to council so that you can make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Tony, I see your hand.
Tony Cato, 320 East Huron. I would just like to encourage all of City Council to consider some things that are going on nationally and in the whole nation. As some of you probably know, I have a health background and I focus on public health. And right now there is a national emergency, and they're calling it a public health emergency, with young people killing themselves. I'm sure y'all have heard about it. There's a lot of suicide. The other thing that's going on is in geriatrics, people are not doing as well because of because of urbanization. They need socialization, and in the South, and I'm speaking as an old public health nurse, transportation is a big issue, which those two go together. What I see being focused on right now is the middle-age group, and I'm talking specifically about the pickleball situation. With all the money that's being spent on pickleball, I feel that those people have resources, they have cars, they have transportation. I've heard that people are coming off the island to play pickleball. I got nothing against pickleball, but what I would like to see is more emphasis on the seniors, who are 70% of our island, and the youth, to keep them from killing themselves, give them something to do. As I understand it now, they can't even play basketball. So I'm really concerned about this and would like for y'all to put more focus on these two groups that are in our community and need the attention. I would also like to take 1 second to commend Mr. Bazell for all the research he's done, all of the recent situations that have been looked into have been done by Mr. Bazell. I really appreciate all of his enthusiasm and productivity, and great job on the apps about the parking. That's all I got, thanks.
All right. Any other citizens' comments? Going once, going twice, sold. Let's move on to commission, board, and committee reports. We have several. I think Mr. Pope's gonna tell you more.
So each year we ask the relevant staff to prepare a summary of the agendas and votes taken by the boards and commissions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eight board and commission reports. So the council has them. They're public in the agenda. And then rather than go through and recite all the business, we have the staff folks here. If you guys have any questions about a particular board or committee and what they did last year.
Ladies and gentlemen. Anybody? Going once, going twice, sold. Next up, we have Parks and Rec board recommendations. Ms. Stevens, is that you?
The Parks Board met last week and had some robust participation. There were about a dozen people to talk about pickleball, the location for sound dampening at the pickleball courts. Mainly pickleballers were there. They were very supportive of this. They understand that the noise is a problem and they want to do what they can to help solve the problem. The board recommended that the one side of the fence get this new sound dampening measures on the far west side, which is the immediate neighbors who are also at the meeting and in favor of that recommendation. Another thing they wanted to do was to have some before and after data. We have decibel readers, so we'll go out there and measure before and then stand on the other side of this new fence and see the changes after.
Any questions for Ms. Stevens? No. I will say at that meeting, and to Ms. Cato's point a little bit, because it turned into a nice meeting with pickleball people, with noise people, and everybody had a good time. We did bring up they're gonna be more cognizant of the basketball court and stay off it and be more appreciative when people come out to play basketball. So we did get that covered. And then at the staff meeting, I learned that we have a plethora of senior programs that are gonna be coming out soon. So keep your eyes tuned. There's gonna be a lot coming out. We're trying to do more for the younger ones, and I know there's a lot for seniors that Heather will get into in the next couple months. But anything else, just give us an email if you see anything that you think would be worthwhile. They're doing so many different programs. I was surprised between mahjong clubs, exercise for seniors. There's all kinds of different events. I was like, that was pretty impressive to me. So hopefully it's a good, diverse variety for you guys as well. Moving on to old business. Ordinance 724, an ordinance amending the standards of chapters 166.01 of the Folly Beach zoning and development ordinance by amending 166.0103C2 to allow removal of protected trees in certain circumstances in the residential 2-family zoning districts. This is the second reading. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion?
We excluded palm trees last time, right? No?
The palm trees are protected and the planning commission did recommend take them off of that list, but council did not vote to do that.
Anybody else? I'm sorry, Mr. Pope.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Brazell?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich?
Yes.
Pass the second reading.
All right, ordinance 2324, an ordinance amending the Folly Beach Code of Ordinances, section 166.04-03, to require replanting with native species when the marsh buffer is disturbed. This is second reading. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion? Everybody good? Mr. Pope, call the roll.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Brazell?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich?
Yes.
Pass the second.
Ordinance 24-24, an ordinance amending the Folly Beach Code of Ordinances, section 164.04 2022 by prohibiting the rental of accessory uses separately from the associated primary use. This is the second reading. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. This is the one that we're eliminating pool rentals separate of house rentals and accessories and things like that. Any discussion? Mr. Pope?
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich?
Yes.
Passes second.
Moving right along. On to new business, ordinance 1-25. An ordinance updating references to the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control to reflect the reorganization of the department to create the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services and the South Carolina Department of Public Health. This is first reading. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. We'll say this just changes our codes to reflect the split in THAC through the state. Any discussion? Mr. Pope? Don't too fast for you?
Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Mr. Farley? Yes. Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich?
Yes.
Passes first.
All right. Ordinance 225, an ordinance to impose a 3-month moratorium on the issuance of new permits for the construction of seawalls and revetments. This is first reading. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I do have a question for Mr. Pope. I guess I just need a little bit more detail about the exact purpose of the moratorium, in the sense of, we've looked at other ordinances, we've tweaked them, we've done certain things in process that have been at the committee level. So the moratorium benefits us exactly how?
So generally, most of the ordinances we deal with that have I'll call it a substantial change to current practices are zoning ordinances. When we change house setbacks, lot coverage, allowable uses, those are all zoning ordinances which require a public hearing, and then come back to you guys with a recommendation. This is not a zoning ordinance. It doesn't require a public hearing, but it is dealing with one of those, I'll call it, substantial changes to current practice, which is of some import. And generally, when we have concerns that are that magnitude, we can use the moratorium to pause continuance of the, I'm gonna poorly phrase it, continuance of the thing to be solved. Stop that while we consider the issue. We've done it with maximum house size, we've done it with all oceanfront development, we've done it with mobile vendors, we've done it with construction in the commercial zone. It was proposed a couple times for rentals. So it's a tool that the city has used repeatedly in issues where there's something that's gonna be a major change from what we're doing now, and we'd stop it while we consider it. It would not have been as much of an issue had the public notice been published on time, because you guys would be voting on it tonight. But now that's been pushed for at least 2 more months, and so that's why we're proposing it for your consideration.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
We did remand this for addressal by the planning commission as well, and they're the ones that got stuck not being able to bring it back to us with a recommendation, because we couldn't get the notification out of the paper.
That's the biggest reason for the moratorium, because they're gonna hold a public hearing on it, so please, Mr. Culpepper, Bob, invite y'all to, whether this passes or not, go to the public hearing for planning commission and voice your concerns. That should have already happened, but unfortunately it hasn't. Mayor Goodwin, do what we'd also bring up once again, this is only for seawalls, it is not for marsh bulkheads, so they are not included in this at all. That's all I've got. Any other questions from you guys? Very good. Mr. Pope, call the roll.
Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich?
Yes.
Passes first.
All right, resolution 125, a resolution by the City of Folly Beach City Council allowing staff to execute a contract for Arctic Avenue, 30% design completion to AMT Engineering in the amount of $360,695. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, discussion? I will throw this out there, we had $500,000 budgeted for this, as a placeholder, so it is considerably less than we anticipated for this part of the design. Other than that, like I say, you gotta start somewhere. I think getting the surveying and engineering done is important, and then, you know, like Bill was talking, like we finally got the last answer that satisfied Mr. Farley. You know, once we get the actual surveying and engineering done, we can see if there are gonna be different road hazards and things of that sort that we need to look into. But they've had several public hearings on it, and I think everybody was heard through several times, so that's all I'll throw out there. Does anybody else have any questions?
So I can make a comment that it's part of the process that we need to go through to determine costs and risks and potential safety issues.
This was, last time was conceptual, and this is actually nailing it down, yeah. Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Pope?
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich?
Yes.
Passes.
Resolution 225, a resolution by the Folly Beach City Council authorizing the payment of up to $16,000 for sound dampening materials for the city tennis and pickleball courts from the Special Projects Reserve. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Easy enough. Discussion?
I do have a few things.
You go for it.
Okay, all right, so, just for clarification, the budget, when we went in through the July budget, we approved striping, which helps everyone that uses that court, whether it be basketball, pickleball, or tennis. So that was $14,270. Next, we, not through the budget, approved a $10,000 expense for the nets for the pickleball. So we're at $24,270. That's the good news in the sense of, that is a high-used park. You could see it, it's multi-purpose, as opposed to some of the others. One of the things that I think is gonna be important for future is to fold this into strategic planning, because it's getting great use, but also it's in a residential dwelling. So this is not a perfect world here as far as this goes, in the sense of, this is something to deter the noise on one side. The other issue is that there are two other sides. So right now, in the budget, we're just asking for the one, then assess it, because we don't have the money for the other two, and it'll unfold. The other thing is that being the liaison to Park and Rec, I mean, this is a great thing. However, certainly there are other parks. There's Juarez that needs to be developed, there's Shadow Race, Miro Weather's Shadow Race. And so some folks may say, why are we not developing them? Well, we are, but also that's part of this priority, and hopefully it will go to strategic planning. But for now, I have flip-flopped on this, actually, to be quite frank. And my colleagues would know that. But the thing that I can't walk away from is that we had a meeting with constituents, and we had a unanimous vote that was passed on to us from the committee.
I was wondering which way you were going with that.
I-
You kept everybody on edge to see which way you were gonna fall.
Okay.
I'm happy.
But I would like to say at that meeting, it seems like both parties, the pickleball players and the residents around that court, seemed to come away from that meeting thinking they got something that was gonna move the ball down the road as far as alleviating the noise issue and not impacting the play. So I think we came to a pretty good consensus there.
That was one of the best board meetings that I'd been to and been a part of, because it was truly a give and take by everybody. And that's why I was saying to Tony, you know, they understood that, okay, when the people come and play basketball, they need to make more of an effort to step aside, play nice to everybody about times. Also talk to tourists, you know, the visitors that we have, and tell them, you know, it's not just our pickleball community, it's, hey, don't start until this time. You know, this is just follow the rules, to just make it more, just a better place for everybody, because it is right in the middle of a residential setting. That's not what that part was designed for. But that was a wonderful meeting. We got a lot accomplished at it, surprisingly.
It's because I'm the liaison,
That's
council
it.
liaison.
It's all Catholic.
Just making it perfectly clear.
Any other questions, discussion? Mr. Pope, call the roll.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich?
Yes.
Passes.
Beautiful. Thank you for everybody's hard work. That was a fun project. Resolution 325, a resolution approving a contract with Kyle Sullivan for consulting and transition services. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. This is a normal contract we have with retiring employees for transition for 6 months in case we need them for any callbacks or questions or life lessons. We have the ability to do that. So it's not a guaranteed money, it's just on an as-needed basis. Any more discussion?
I would like to just point out that that's already been used once on an occasion where we had a thing that happened on one of the neighborhood areas that Kyle was given an off-island time call due to freezing pipes and stuff, and he was able to energize the necessary things to mitigate that because he knew all of these. It's not that Philip isn't on board, it's just that it was another head to help solve a problem that created a large issue for a local family, so.
Yes, sir. All right, if there's no more discussion, Mr. Pope, call the roll.
Mr. Gazelle?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mr. Grooves?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rich?
Yes.
Passes.
Beautiful. That is the end of new business. We're gonna do council comments, and the council is going to go to an executive session for a little bit before adjournment. We're going to do council comments now. Feel free to hang out if you want. When we get back, we're just going to adjourn. We figured we'd do that instead of leaving y'all hanging. So council comments, let's start with Mr. Brazell.
I just, Catherine handed out it, DJ alluded to it too, but it was so great to see the public come together this week at the planning committee and then also later at the Parks and Rec committee. Just to see the involvement, the way that everybody was able to work together to come to some decisions that I think helped move the community a lot more forward. So thank you for all your involvement.
I just want to recognize President Jimmy Carter, and so I just pulled out a few quotes so that I could share them with my comments because I truly admire his efforts and what he contributed to our country. 3 quotes. We become not a melting pot, but a beautiful mosaic. Different people, different beliefs, different yearnings, different hopes, different dreams. Second one. We must adjust to changing times and still hold to unchanging principles. America did not invent human rights. In a very real sense, human rights invented America. Good night.
Mr. Farley?
No, sir.
Mr. Fink?
Happy New Year.
Mr. Grooves?
Yes, I'd like to recognize Major Upton, 10-year anniversary. Is that correct? Thank you very much for all you've done with the department. And as we move forward, it's going to be a good next decade, I feel. So another decade you'll be with us. So thank you very much.
I just want to once again say, Mary Good, we hope you feel better. Keep them in your thoughts. 2024 was a great year, guys. I think we accomplished a lot as a group and as a city, because without you guys, obviously it wouldn't happen. So here's to hoping 2025 is another one. Thank you guys. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Motion to go into executive session? Beautiful. You did. I was sitting there like, okay, she can still go either way with this. Where's she going to? Like, am I about to do this? Is she turning? I think she's coming back. Oh no, she's turning. What the hell is she doing?